Alright, well, we finally got a trailer for the new Assassin's Creed game set in Japan, Assassin's Creed Shadows. We knew this game had been coming for a while, and if you watched the video I made over a year ago now talking about new or upcoming samurai games, this game was one I said I was probably the least excited for. This trailer did nothing to change that feeling. In fact, I've been going back and forth on if I even want to make a video here talking about it at all. And if you watched the video I just put out on the PC release of Samurai Warriors 4, I even said I was not planning to make a video for it at this time. Well, here we are. There comes a point where I see so many other opinions on it, and people asking for my opinion that it just gnaws away at me to the point where I feel I'm obligated. Still, this video won't be anything exhaustively long or in-depth. If you are looking for something more critical like that, I suggest checking out the videos Anthony Cummins has already made regarding the trailer because he gets into a lot of good points. Also, check out Metatron's video as well. Metatron put out a great video right as I was working on this one, so I will leave links to all of these videos down below. But with that said, what do I think of the trailer? What do I think of the game? To be honest, I already have a negative bias towards Assassin's Creed games. I've certainly played my fair share of Assassin's Creed games in the past, but it has been over a decade since I was even remotely interested in the series. There are a lot of things that have driven me away from it. From the poor storytelling, awful dialogue, the constant back and forth past-present nature, cliché elements, and what I would call Assassin's Creedisms. So as you can see, I really wasn't excited for any Assassin's Creed game set in Japan, as so many other people seem to have been. I mean, I've already seen people saying that this game is going to be a masterpiece, which is crazy. But for me, like I said, now that we have this new trailer, my own feelings have not really changed whatsoever. Now, I will admit, there were some moments in the trailer I enjoyed. Specifically, it was cool seeing the Oda commanders, the line of Ashigaru with their matchlocks, along with the incoming trade ships. That stuff looked awesome. However, these were all quick glimpses. The rest of the trailer showcased all of the usual hallmarks of the series that I have become so tired of. Awful dialogue, seemingly poor storytelling, one-dimensional characters, and an over-glamorized setting. The world looks like the typical Americanized postcard Japan that Ghost of Tsushima became well known for. Overly beautiful, and what people want to believe pre-modern Japan always looked like, and not really an accurate portrayal. Now, I know it's just a game and art style, and if this was released a year ago, I probably would not care as much. But when Rise of the Ronin found a way to do this better, showcasing a still beautiful yet very grounded and real Japan, anything else just starts to really stick out. But besides all of that, what is the actual history the game is trying to represent? The game looks to be set somewhere in the late 1570s into the early 1580s, right at the pinnacle of Oda Nobunaga's power, as he was on his way toward unifying Japan right before his assassination at Honnoji in 1582. How do we know this? Well, I think they told us in an interview that the game takes place in 1581. But besides that, what other details can we see that tells us this? One is the seeming appearance of the Tensho-Iga War, when Oda forces pushed in to subjugate the small province of Iga. This is evident in the trailer and also mentioned in interviews. Additionally, we also have the character of Fujibayashi Nagato, who was a warrior of Iga. I believe he is supposed to be the father of Naoe, a fictional character and one of the game's main protagonists. Now, another way we can tell the date is because of the appearance of Yasuke, the famous African man who perhaps became a samurai. Yasuke arrived in Japan in 1579 and very briefly would come into the service of Oda Nobunaga until Nobunaga's death at Honnoji. Yasuke, as we know, is also one of the game's main protagonists, as players will be able to choose who they will play as throughout the game, Yasuke or Naoe. Now, to say there has been a bit of controversy surrounding this would be an understatement. It has been an absolute mess. Many people seem to be upset with Yasuke's role in the game, for a variety of reasons. There are people saying things like he never existed, or he was never a samurai, or that this is cultural appropriation or historical revisionism. And that's not even talking about the war going on over Yasuke's Wikipedia page now, as people are going in and just trying to re-edit it over and over again. But even beyond this, there are other complaints people have about not being able to play as a Japanese man in a game set in Japan. Well, let's briefly clear a couple of things up. First of all, was Yasuke real? Yes. Yes, he was. There are multiple documents which refer to him. Yasuke was a real historical figure. Next, and much more important, was Yasuke a samurai? This is a question which I think is fair to debate and discuss in a healthy and civilized manner. But even with that said, you can't deny there is a solid amount of significant evidence to definitely suggest he was indeed made a samurai. There was a recent Ask Historians post on Reddit where Parallel Pain, who is a very prominent figure there, went through the historical documents in which Yasuke was mentioned to showcase he is someone we can consider a samurai. I will leave links to it down below, but the TLDR of it is that there were a number of recorded responsibilities and privileges Yasuke received that only a samurai would have received. From his very specifically worded samurai stipend, to the short sword and residence he was gifted, to his role as a kosho, being a sword bearer to Oda Nobunaga. He also went on campaign with the Oda during Nobunaga's final march against the Takeda, and even is believed to have fought at Nijo during the night of the Honnoji incident. If all of these don't build a solid case for him being a samurai, I'm not sure what does. But even then, we have to keep in mind that the Sengoku Jidai was a time of great social mobility, as people of the lower classes could earn their way to samurai status. You need to look no further than Toyotomi Hideyoshi. It's not a wild thing to see how someone like Yasuke could ascend to that position. And even on top of that, Yasuke isn't even the only foreign-born individual who became a samurai, as there are multiple others throughout history who achieved the same status. It is not historical revisionism to consider Yasuke a samurai. The evidence is there. Once again, please examine the Ask Historians link down below before posting an angry rant about how you don't think there is any evidence that Yasuke was a samurai. Now, moving on to the game though, is it right to make him one of the main protagonists? This is obviously where personal opinion comes in the most. There are very valid complaints being made about wanting to play as a Japanese man in a game set in pre-modern Japan. On one hand, I get it, it makes sense to feel that way. To be waiting for an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan only for one of the main protagonists not to be a Japanese man is a bit of a bummer. However, on the other hand, I also do think it's really cool to be able to play as Yasuke. I don't necessarily get the anger from people saying it disrespects Japan or Japanese culture. Yasuke is a part of Japanese history, and Japan has continually celebrated that. I mean, Japan has even been putting Yasuke into their own games for years now, so his presence is nothing new in terms of games. What is new is the fact that he is one of the main characters. I mean, where was the anger at Team Ninja for making William Adams the main character of Neo 1? There was never an outcry when you were playing as literally a white man from England. I think the problem here is more the fact that it is a Western game studio and not a Japanese one, so I think people feel there is some ulterior motive behind the scenes here. Which, yeah, there could definitely be, I'm not discounting that. But it is undeniable that Yasuke is a fascinating figure, and one who I think is perfect for a game like this. For me, his role in the game might be one of the only things I'm actually excited for. To the people who are rallying around the idea that we should be playing as a Japanese man, all I really have to say is this: just go play a different samurai game. There are tons of other samurai games where you of course do play as a Japanese man. Go play Ghost of Tsushima, or Rise of the Ronin, or Neo 2, or The Way of the Samurai series, or so many others. Because at the end of the day, this is never going to be a definitive samurai experience. It's not like Assassin's Creed Shadows is guaranteed to be a good game or an actual samurai game at that. Assassin's Creed Shadows is an Assassin's Creed game first and foremost. It is going to have all the same elements and tropes of the series. Don't go in expecting a groundbreaking samurai epic, because 9 chances out of 10, it's not going to be. But the last thing I will touch on regarding characters, if there is a character people should be complaining about, it shouldn't be Yasuke. Unfortunately, it should be Naoe. Naoe is the character here who is in all regards historically inaccurate. From all these silly fictional ninja tropes to the simple fact of her gender. It's been said a million times by now, but the image of a ninja dressed in black, scaling walls and doing backflips and assassinating people and throwing kunai and all that, it's all fake. We know this. And it's sad to see this myth continue to get propagated. But hey, it sells. And then there is the fact that female warriors in Japan were extremely rare, despite what pop culture would have you believe. we've talked about this in the past in a full-length video as well. Now, women working as informants or spies was certainly a real thing. This is the concept of the kunoichi, but the idea of her running around as a super skilled warrior or even just in towns openly carrying weapons like this is just complete fantasy. If you really want to bring up the historical revisionism argument, this is it. Not Yasuke. And this is why I feel the people who want to be playing as a Japanese man should not want the Yasuke protagonist to be changed to be Japanese, but instead should want the female Japanese protagonist Naoe to be a man, which would be more historically accurate. Now yes, there is certainly a heavy amount of slack we can cut being that this is just a game. I mean, I've championed plenty of other samurai games that share similar tropes. When it gets down to it though, my own issues with Assassin's Creed Shadows doesn't really have anything to do with its characters, but instead with my general disinterest in the series. Of course, there is obviously still a lot we have yet to see about the game, so it's hard to base everything off this one trailer, but I at least wanted to let you know what my thoughts are as of right now. I'm not sure yet if I am planning on reviewing the game or not, but I'll certainly be keeping an eye on it though. And for the love of God, do not pre-order it, at least not yet. Ubisoft has been developing some egregious practices when it comes to pre-ordering their games, as you may already be aware. I'm not totally against pre-ordering games when you know what you are getting and the company isn't trying to swindle you. But what Ubisoft is doing is just bad all around. As many others have rightfully said, this is probably the biggest issue with the game that outweighs any of the other myriad of problems it will face. Anyways though, these are my current thoughts. There is likely more I will think of that I wish I could have mentioned here, but at the moment, these are the feelings I want to convey. Like I said, I'm going to be leaving some links down below if you want to learn more about Yasuke, female warriors in Japan, or want to see some other takes on the trailer. Also, check out the video I posted yesterday talking about Samurai Warriors 4 if you want to hear me talk about a game series I actually am passionate about. But with that said, what are your thoughts on Assassin's Creed Shadows? Are you interested in it, or do you have issues with it too? Let me know in the comments below. But please, try to be civil. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell if you enjoyed this video and found it to be most interesting.